And we are live. Hello, good morning, everyone. Another Super Black Saturday. I'm Jerry Sr. with Jerry Jr.,
Good morning.
and we're here on another beautiful Saturday morning in sunny California. It's very cold outside, but the sun is out and the sky is blue, so it looks good. We had a lot of rain this week, so it's nice to get a break from the rain, but it's also nice to get some rain to get a break with some of these fires that's been going on. So thank God for that. And as they say, any day above ground is a good day. So today is definitely a good day because we are here. And just want to say thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming in, tuning in, and listening. And hopefully, you'll comment and talk and share with us and tell us what you think. So, and those who are watching the recording, thanks for checking us out. We appreciate the support. And today we got a few things we wanted to talk about. Definitely got some stuff in regards to recent trailer drops, right? We got the Jurassic World, we got Fantastic Four, right? And but we also wanted to talk about a classic movie that especially considering it's Black History Month, I think it's apropos. In the Heat of the Night, very good movie. It came out many years ago. I remember seeing it as a young man, and it was compelling then, and it's still just as compelling today, actually. So, and quite relevant, I think. So, we're going to talk about that as well.
Well,
So,
let's talk about the trailers first.
yeah, yeah, get through the trailers, and so Fantastic Four. Your
It looks
thoughts?
awesome.
Okay.
It looks awesome. This is the best trailer that Marvel's put out in years. And I say that because it looks like the comic book, like first and foremost. Like it actually tries to capture the original spirit of said, uh, comic book series, Fantastic Four, Marvel's first family, and see, um, like it's a great trailer that captures all of the essence of each character, of their arcs, of who they are, without like being ham-fisted about it. Like it's very subtle, especially when Sue Storm starts talking about family and when he's like, you know, uh, it reads like, oh, what's his name? I always forget the thing's name, but so and so didn't used to be a rock, and Johnny was bursting in the flames.
Yeah.
Sue's like, well, he's always been our rock. I was like, oh, that's and he's always been the rock. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. I mean,
I thought that was cute.
yeah, it was. It's a nice trailer. I think it evokes the right type of tone
I
in
like this
relation
this
to the Fantastic Four because they're
logo
the
by the
first
way.
family of Marvel. What's that?
I like this logo by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I love the whole retro vibe. It's very good. It harkens back to that '60s era, very modern design and aesthetic. It's like it's when the future was still the future, and it was optimistic and hopeful, and and versus dystopian, right?
Yeah,
And so I love it. I love the uniforms. I think the uniforms look really awesome. Very everything looks very comic book accurate. With nice twist and spin on the designs. Right. The thing I think probably he's probably the most comic accurate thing.
yeah,
So
it looks awesome.
out of all the movies, right? We've got what two movies going on three now, right? No, three movies.
We got three
The
movies.
sequel to the first one. And the thing in this trailer tops them all. Like he looks awesome. A lot of people have kind of had some negative comments about it. I'm not sure why, because that's the thing. That's the
Yeah,
thing I remember from the comics.
that's
And that's the
quite
thing I
literally
remember
the thing.
from the TV shows. Growing up, um, the cartoons and everything. Like that's the thing right there. Like that's Benjamin Graham,
Yeah.
and so I'm loving it. I'm here for
There we
that.
go, Benjamin. There we go.
And
Bam.
I don't like his voice though. I gotta say,
I don't see a
and
problem with his voice. I mean, it's
his voice isn't.
he
It's not.
sounds like a Brooklyn guy. Like his
Yeah,
attitude seems to fit.
he
Like
does,
nothing
but he
seems like
doesn't
it's gonna
sound like
fit.
the Thing, right?
Well, he
Benjamin
doesn't sound
Brown.
grovelly. I don't think he has to sound grovelly all
No,
the
but
time.
he does. I mean, that's the continuity now, right? If you watch old TV shows and everything, with and even the previous movies, right? He's got this gruff, kind of gravelly voice, right? Because and it's almost like this heavy kind of Brooklyn or Queens accent
I mean,
mixed
he's
with
got that.
rough,
Yeah,
roughness, and it just works, and it's fitting, and so I don't like that, but it's a nitpick. It's not like a deal breaker, obviously,
yeah. I
but
don't think.
that's my one of my nitpicks is I wish his voice was more more like the Thing that I remember, but overall it looks great. I don't care for Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. um, I, even
Yeah, no.
seeing the trailer, when I saw the teaser stuff, right? The ads, it just didn't fit to me. Like it doesn't. I don't
Oh,
know.
he's not a bad actor. So I
He's
mean, I'm
not. He's
sure
a
he's.
great actor. So it's not about his acting, and I'm hoping that
Oh no, it's
he
the
he
looks.
blows us away with his performance, where we kind of forget that it's Pedro Pascal, and he kind of nails the persona of Reed Richards. So I'm hoping for that. I'm rooting for him, but just the look, I'm like, yeah, he just looks like Pedro Pascal. He doesn't, to me, look like Reed Richards, like from the comics or any other iteration,
Yeah,
right? So that's the part that's throwing me off. Is well, it's just Pedro Pascal. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
can you like dye his hair, get rid of the mustache, or give him the beard, something, right? Like that's what we. Those are the things we're looking for when it comes to Reed
yeah.
Richards.
I'm surprised they kept the beard. I mean, or
So
the mustache. Excuse me.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's my only thing. Like for example, you
Although
look
it
at
kind of gives him a Walt Disney kind of look, which is
he kind of reminds me of Tony Stark's dad, right? Remember from Iron Man
yeah,
One?
that too. Yeah,
Like
Us-
that's kind of what he looks like, which is not bad. But I was gonna say, uh, like in Wonder Woman '84, right? His character there, he had like the blonde, they dyed his hair blonde or whatever or brown, and he looked more kind of Americanized, so to speak, right?
yeah,
I like that look would probably work a little bit better here, right? So, although that was more '80s, but you know what I'm saying, like give him more of a classic '60s look, which I don't know if that's what he has right there. He doesn't really, to me, it doesn't. But it's once again, it's another kind of nitpick because, like I said, if he gets the performance right, this could actually, could be a good movie. We'll see. I know they swapped they gender swapped the Silver Surfer. They've already announced that like last year or something. So a lot of people weren't happy about that. I'm one of those people. I don't care for it. So
well,
I want OG Silver Surfer.
was that announced or was that a rumor?
No, believe it was announced that it would be a. I think they even announced the casting, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, who's playing it?
I have to look it up. I have to look it up. But yeah, it's kind of like you know
Oh, I see
that's a
it.
bit
Okay,
disappointing.
Julia. Okay, it's Julia Garner. Okay.
That's who it is. Okay, yeah,
Wait, so hold on, because she's playing a character called okay, so she's playing a character called
Silver Surfer.
Shaw. No, well, hold on a second. Who's it? In the casting list, she's playing a character called Shala Ball, which
Right,
in the comics
right. It's a
was
version of the Silver Surfer. That's what I'm saying. It's just a gender swap version of the Silver
well
Surfer.
in the comics it was he was the she was the Silver Surfer's girlfriend.
Right. That's just they just swapped the characters. Right. It's no different than what they did with Lady Thor. Right. It was Thor's girlfriend that becomes. You understand? Like nobody likes it. So, but it's like, all right. Hopefully, it'll be good despite that. Right. So I'm not too excited about that, but it's typical Disney. So it's to be expected that they're gonna do their whatever it is, their voodoo, right? They're gonna gender swap, they're gonna race swap. I suspect that's why Pedro Pascal is Pedro Pascal. right? No, you know what I mean. No makeup to make him look more Americanized, quote unquote, right? More Eurocentric, right? Like I think that's why, right? So it's like, you know, it's like I always say, 3 feet to go, right? Like they bring you almost there, but then there's always these little things, you know, that it's like if you just, you know,
Yeah,
stick to the recipe, so to speak, right? It's like adding too much salt to your favorite dish, right? If you just stuck to the recipe, it would have been perfect, right? But you had to add the extra salt, right? The extra something. And
yeah,
it's like, and so now it's like, it's good, but it's just too salty, or it's too, right? And that's kind of the thing. It's like this might actually be good, right? Might actually be, and hopefully it is, right? But it's like, if only they had done that, stuck to that recipe, that's strict, because that's what works, right? It's like, and to me, it's a difference between, making 2 or 300 million dollars versus half a billion or more, right?
yeah,
Maybe even hitting a billion, if it's really that good, right? And if it hits a billion, 2 billion. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? Like it's like
yeah,
Endgame. Endgame was almost perfect, right? Had they, and fans were very forgiving. You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
at the end of the day, if you give us enough of what we want, we'll ignore the stuff we don't want. And that's what happened with Endgame, right? Because we got a lot of what we wanted, but there was still a lot of what we didn't want mixed in, like the way they handled Hulk, right? Not
yeah,
giving us Hulk, right?
yeah,
Giving us the version of Professor Hulk, which nobody wanted. Uh, the whole Lady Avengers Assemble scene that was incredibly cringe. That for some reason some people still don't see how cringe that was. But you know, it's like you forgive it because you're like, well, but we still got Tony Stark. We got Thor being Thor again. We got Captain America lifting the hammer. You know what I mean. Like
yeah,
all that was very satisfying, right? And so you forgive the rest of the stuff because you go, well, at least we got enough of what we wanted that we can kind of forgive the other stuff we don't want. And I think that's going to be the case with this movie. It's even with Deadpool and Wolverine, right? That did pretty well. A lot of people liked it, but they also said, yeah, but there was a little too much of this or that, like a lot of gay jokes and all that.
yeah,
And it's like, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, you guys got to know when to kind of be measured, not safe necessarily, but measured, right? So we'll see. But like I said, the trailer looks nice. They're almost making me care again. Almost making me care about the MCU again. So because it's long overdue to give us a decent Fantastic Four movie. Listen, and the one that actually did get released, the first one, wasn't bad. Um, it was, a lot of people made fun of it, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible.
which one?
Um, the one with Jessica Alba and Michael Chiklis playing the thing, etc. And what's his name? Chris Evans as Johnny Storm.
Oh, yeah, the first one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the first movie, the one that was released. There was one that was in development that never got released. Um, I think that was Harvey Korman. I think that was like way back. Um, and a lot of that footage was leaked, so a lot of people saw like the how the thing was going to look and all that. But then, yeah, the one that release came out, and it was good. I mean, I didn't like how they handled the Reed Richards character in that because he was very kind of milk toast, which I never saw Reed Richards as milk toast or shy or. I mean, really, he was just like in the comics and even in animated form, right? He was just a very aloof, but highly intelligent, highly confident leader, right? But he was never like, I don't know, like just weak. And in the movie, yeah, he was kind of like weak, like what's wrong with this guy, So
Well, the thing with the first movie is they were playing more into the geeky, nerdy stereotype
yeah, they were,
to
yeah, I
to have
agree.
him because he was opposite to Victor Von Doom's character.
Right,
Who
and
was like,
that's what I'm saying. And even Victor Von Doom, while I think the performance was good, and I think that was closer to how he would, hit the way he's portrayed in comics and everything. Although he's way more intelligent, and he's not as he is like egotistical, But I don't know. Yeah, it's like that was actually pretty decent. But yeah, the biggest flaw was Reed Richards because he is, confident, but he's also passionate, right? And he's highly intelligent, and he's a leader, right? He takes charge. He's not like passive and you know afraid to commit. You know what I mean? Like he was a total. The way they portrayed, he was a total like '90s man, right? A metrosexual, and it's like, yeah, that's not Reed Richards at all. Like not even close, and that's that's it's like if they portray Tony Stark that way, right? You go, that's not Tony Stark, right? It's the same Reed Richards. Reed Richards is not a metrosexual, weak, you know,
I mean, yeah,
fake.
I get it.
You
I
know
don't know
what I
if
mean? Like,
I watched the movie again, but
so
I
yeah,
remember
that's how
being,
he just seemed like he just lacked confidence or so, and it's like, no, that's not Reed Richards at all. Like not even close. So that
yeah.
was my biggest thing with that. Overall, the movie was good.
But
It was
it's
fine.
funny you say that because there's a clip. A lot of I don't know if you ever saw the Avengers animated series,
Yeah,
the new one.
on Disney, right?
Yeah,
Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
I think that's it. Um, yeah, but him because it's funny because they have Reed Richards interacting uh, with Tony Stark in that one. The specific scene, it's pretty funny because like uh, you see sort of Reed like sort of talk back to Tony in a way that's like you realize I'm as smart as you, right? Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they would clash. Like their egos would, because they're both brilliant, and that's
ah,
what I'm
yeah, here
saying.
we go.
Like it
This is
wouldn't
this
be
is the clip
this,
right here.
you
Hold
know.
on a second. This is the clip I was talking about. So this is from the TV show, and it's kind of funny because it kind of describes what you were talking about.
Hank, I've been able to keep Princess Ravana stabilized, but I. Wait, where is Hank?
Leave of absence. Are you really this oblivious, or are you just the dumbest man on the planet?
Excuse me?
Sue Storm is way out of your league, and you're messing it up by ignoring her all the time. But on second thought, if things aren't working out between the two of you, maybe.
I can think of 14 different ways to seal you in that armor forever. Honestly, Tony, I think Susan's actually been ignoring me the last few weeks. She's been very distracted lately.
Yeah,
So
see, that's closer to right. Like he's not this milk toast, like nerdy guy.
I mean, he's definitely nerdy, but he's not like a
No,
punk.
it's not. Listen, he's not nerdy. Get that out of your vocabulary when you describe Tony Stark or Reed Richards or T'Challa or like they're
Yeah,
not
but
nerds.
I've
Just
never
because they're
described any of
doing,
those characters as nerdy.
I know, but that's what people do. That's my point. That's what the media tends to do, And I'm saying they're not nerdy, like at all.
Yeah, but
They're
I'm not
far
talking
from
about Tony.
nerdy
I'm
as possible,
specific.
huh?
Yeah, but I'm not talking about Tony. I'm not. I don't know.
No, I'm
I don't know
talking about
anybody
Reed
who does
Richards.
talk about Tony as a nerd.
No, I'm saying Reed Richards is not a nerd. Like he's not a nerd at
Well,
all.
I get what you're saying. Like, just because he's super smart doesn't make him.
Right. That's my point. They're never portrayed as nerds. Like watch the movie like Revenge of the Nerds or something, right? Those are nerds. Like that's what a nerd is, quintessentially speaking, right? Like that's what that those movies encompass. It's like these are our our perspective on or perception of what a nerd is, right? Reed Richards is not a nerd. He's a brilliant scientist, but he's not a nerd. You understand what I'm saying? Like he's, like no more than Tony Stark is, right? Like that's all I'm saying. Like it's just a different dynamic, right? Because the definition of a nerd and and I would say not the definition, but like what's implied by the definition of a nerd is that they aren't masculine, right? And therefore they're not confident, they're not self-assured. That's what I'm saying. Reed Richards is not a nerd, right? The way he's been portrayed, at least in most of the classic comics, right? Even more recent comics, he's not portrayed as a nerd or a geek. And that's what they did in the movie is they portrayed him as this kind of geek or this nerd, right? And it's like, no, he's not that at all, right? You understand what I'm saying? So that's all I mean. It's like, no, that's that because that evokes a whole different. It's just like we were talking about with Spider-Man a while back, right? And the way he's portrayed in more recent iterations versus what he kind of is historically in the comics, where he's not really like this geek or something or this goofy nerd. He's actually more like an average teen who's very smart, right? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's a very different thing, right? When you say nerd, you're evoking a certain image that doesn't align with the character as he's been portrayed throughout the years. That's what I'm saying, right? So it's a it's very interesting, like um, that that tends to be, and I think part of it is because it's an easy go to, just to pour this character into this trope, right? And then you build from there. You build from that trope versus actually trying to understand and define the character as it's been defined throughout the years. There's plenty of source material where you go, oh, he's not really a nerd, but he is very smart or very brilliant, right? And he
Yeah.
is very aloof because he's enamored by his research, right? That's Reed Richards. You see what I mean? Like he's so brilliant, he gets like fully immersed in his research, where it causes him to be aloof to other things like his family, like Sue and everything. You understand? Like but he's brilliant. Like he's literally changing the world. You know. So and that's all I'm saying. Like it's a very different dynamic than just he's a nerd. I think we do the character a disservice by kind of just he's a nerd.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah. Yeah.
nerd that has superpowers. It's like no, that's not quite it, right? Even Bruce Banner, right? He's been portrayed as very nerdy, sometimes like a nutty professor type, and it's like, oh well, like my favorite iteration is the television series from the '80s, where he wasn't this nerdy, like he was a serious persona. He's a man who had this burden that he was carrying, and and it was bittersweet, right? Because some good would come, but it only came through a lot of pain and suffering on his part, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's sort of a tragic character, and but so it never occurs to you to go, oh, he's a nerd, even though he was a brilliant scientist. You understand?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's like so, and that's all I'm saying. Like just because you're a brilliant scientist, as a character doesn't automatically mean you're a nerd. You're a nerd, right? Like that's so silly, right? But we've turned things and I'm speaking in terms of like pop culture in general. It's we turn these things, we rely on these tropes to define things because it's just easy, you know.
Yeah.
But a lot of these characters are popular and have become popular not because of the tropes that they represent, but because of the character development behind it, right? That's
Yeah.
why these characters are so endearing. They last and stand the test of time. Why? Because they were well developed and well rounded characters, right? And they go far deeper than just a basic trope, right? And so it's kind of it's a little frustrating sometimes. It's like no, it's not really that, right?
Yeah.
Even and we like to say like, well, the normies, this and that. And it's like, well, I think we need to give more credit to the audience. Like even if they're normies, they're not comic book pros. They can still spot a good character, right? They'll still respond to a well developed character.
Yeah. I think that's just an excuse.
So yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I mean the trailer looks cool. I love the retro feel. It's very, very, very. It's nice to see that, especially in the context of a comic book film. So yeah, um, we'll see. Um, I'm withholding my excitement. I'm being cautious.
I mean, that's fair.
You know, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I don't know. With Disney, and especially with everything going on with a lot of the in the political space, all this defunding of uh, or auditing of these government programs, I guess, that were funding a lot of this DEI stuff. Uh, and then just in general, the sort of overall rejection of a lot of this stuff. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. You know, um, this particular movie, especially because there is a gender swap. So we'll see. you
Well,
know,
let us know what you guys think about the trailer. Let us know if you're excited for the movie. Put your feelings in the comments below. Do you like
yeah,
the
we'd love
casting?
to know. Yeah, so let us know. And
The
are
other
you
trailer you
excited?
sent me was the Jurassic Park trailer.
Yeah, it's Jurassic World Rebirth, and it's interesting. I was a bit surprised to see another Jurassic Park.
I'll be honest, I'm kind of done with Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. I'm kind of like, yeah, why are we doing this again?
Yeah, I mean, the premise of this is kind of different because it's from what I gather, they're trying to make some kind of cure for something, but in order to do it, they need DNA from specific dinosaurs, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, but I mean, it's no different than the second one. I think didn't they?
Is
The
it?
second, yeah, they didn't they go back for kind of the same reason to find something or some kind of, you know what I mean, like to recover something from the facility. So
All right,
it's
yeah.
kind of the same old thing all over again. Like we got to go back to or retrieve something or to do whatever. Or I think the second one was to, or maybe it was the third one was to rescue someone, or I don't know. But it's like there's an excuse to go back. That's basically you know
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we have a reason to return. We have to put ourselves in danger for no really good reason, but it's kind of like it's just obviously a small expedition team, and I'm like, yeah, so why not? If it is this cure that will cure something like cancer, I don't know. It's like,
I don't know.
I mean, like seriously, wouldn't like some of the biggest corporations, pharmaceutical companies, just throw hundreds of millions of dollars at it to get to retrieve it?
Yeah, yeah,
And if that's the case, then you'll be going in full force, right? You'll have like you'll hire your own private army. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah.
all this like sort of we're in imminent danger, and it's just this ragtag team because no one else wants to go because no one's stupid enough to blah blah blah. It's kind of like it's kind of dumb. I don't know. This is 2025. Like we have like some of the greatest technology that ever existed.
I guess that's a good
You know
point.
what I
I
mean?
guess
So
the
you mean to tell me
because
you can't go into an island with dangerous animals, sure, and but figure out a way to get to this island, extract what you need, and get out without losing any lives, right? Like
well, no,
there's
that's a good point. I think because of the time, like certain premises work with specific time periods
right. I agree.
because of the lack of technology, there's a
Right,
lot more
right.
at stake. I
Like
guess so for
Skull Island or something, or
right because
maybe
that took place in the
the first
Vietnam
Kingdom.
War.
Yeah, it's like yeah, this is the 19th century. There's you know we have airplanes, and that's about it, right? We don't have
Well, it's
you
the
know
20th century, but I know what you're saying. But
no, but that's what I mean, at that time period though we didn't have like computers and
yeah,
all this kind of stuff.
well, it's like that one scene from Austin Powers where Doctor Evil asks for $1 million, and then like the world
Yeah,
governments are like,
okay.
inflation, yeah.
That's pocket change, right? Exactly, right. He's like, no, you mean maybe you should say 1 billion, right?
Yeah,
And that's what I'm saying. It's I'm looking at this. I'm like, if this were 100 years ago, it would be compelling. But being current day, it's like it's not. At least
yeah.
throw in
Nobody
some
cares.
like advanced technology. Like if you got dinosaurs running around, right? Okay, well, give us some robots or something, or exosuits, or I don't. You know what I mean? Like make it interesting. Like this isn't interesting to me because I'm like, it's just a bunch of people doing stupid things. You understand? Like they're saying we're gonna be stupid and go in on a shoestring budget with very little support and equipment, right? Weaponry
Yeah,
to a dangerous environment where we could be immediately killed instantly, right? Like almost every animal's
yeah.
dangerous.
Because it's like if you're assuming this
It's
takes
dumb.
place during modern times, then it's just like you're gonna ask yourself, well, why don't they use drones? Why don't they use this?
Exactly. That's my point. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, why aren't you throwing like technology at this?
Yeah,
It doesn't make any sense.
no, I
Even
agree.
now, like you have guys who are big game hunters. They're not going to these dangerous parts of Africa to hunt like buffalo or something. Rhinos or something. And they got vehicles. They have weapons. They have like GPS tracking. You understand? Like
Yeah,
they're using technology to hunt. They're not just going out there with their little rifle, in a tent, right? They got state of the art tech because they're like, yeah, we're gonna leverage this because we still want to win, right? We don't want to risk our lives and get mauled or mauled to death or something, right? And that's what all I'm saying. It's like they're it looks like they're not even doing that in here, right? It's like this bare bones, like we got to find this
yeah. Like that.
mercenary guy.
That type of
Why do you
experience
need
would work
mercenary?
better in like the '90s, right?
Not even the '90s. I mean, it never really made sense with Jurassic Park outside of the first movie, to be perfectly honest.
Right, but that movie took place in the '90s, or at least the late '80s, or whatever.
No, it was '90s. But what I'm saying is, Jurassic Park itself, the first one made perfect sense, right? Because they threw billions of dollars, they developed this island into this tourist, attraction, but it was to fund their research, right? And they tried to have this breakthrough. They did have like breakthrough research in various things, right? And so it's like, yeah, that makes perfect, genetic engineering and all this kind of stuff, and they, you know, rebirth basically dinosaurs, right? So
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, that makes sense. That's state of the art, cutting edge, right? So it makes sense to have to be in this isolated environment, away from civilization for safety reasons, as well as to get around international laws, right? You understand what I'm saying? Like they
yeah,
probably broke a lot of laws, right? And that's all I'm saying. It made perfect sense. But beyond that, it starts to get like, okay, yeah, why is this happening? Why where's the military? You understand? Like, where's a government, whether it's the US or Russia, somebody is gonna be like, we're claiming this territory. They're gonna put battleships all around it. They're gonna put a base there or something. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like, it's not just gonna be sitting there you know, willy nilly. Like, no, they're gonna go and they're gonna control this, right? Somebody's gonna control it. That's all I'm saying. And it's like, but they're giving us the same kind of tired scenario of ragtag group of explorers, scientists determined to get at a cure for something. I honestly don't care. It's just more like action gags like this, like, oh man, we're climbing this steep mountain,
Yeah.
because we don't have drones.
But
We gotta climb it. We gotta go in these dark, dangerous caves, because we
why?
don't have, bomb robots that we can deploy. Yeah, it just starts to get dumb. I don't know. Maybe I'm just cynical, but I'm just kind of like,
Well,
yeah,
no, I mean, I think
it's
if
getting
you were
ridiculous.
to, I think these
There's always
criticisms.
like some young person, like a kid, maybe stowaway or something. I
It's
don't know.
not that. It's not that. It's. I think your critic. I think saying stuff like that over the first movie would be overly cynical. But I think 5 movies later, it's not
Yeah,
cynical.
exactly. Like 5 movies later, humans should be riding dinosaurs like horses.
Yeah,
Like it should actually be, it should revert back to the original where they finally get the dinosaurs under control using some type of sedative and technology, still brain chips or something, and they're tagged, and they have this system that's in place that keeps them confined to the island. And now we have exoskeleton suits that boost human strength to allow them to handle the animals. We also have automaton drone robots, and we have drones flying around. Like, you understand? Like, that would be the response. Like, it wouldn't just be, well, we're just gonna leave it there in the middle of the Pacific. You know, like, nobody go there. You're forbidden. Like, that's dumb.
Yeah.
Like, that's not gonna happen. Somebody's gonna lay claim to this, right? And they're gonna manage it. They're gonna throw money at it and fix it somehow. So it's, I don't know. It's just so unimaginative at this point. Like, what are you doing? It's just the same stuff over and at least like the last one. I think the last two were more interesting because it was kind of what I'm talking about, right? Like the one with Chris Pratt, right?
Yeah.
Where they were on the island and they were like training the velociraptors, right? They were trying
Yeah.
to figure out how to control them because there was like military money being thrown at it because they can be the perfect soldier or something, right? Like
Yeah.
something like, right. It was kind of like, okay, that kind of makes sense, I guess, right? Like at least there's like a rationale that's plausible, right? Some type of government, whether it's the U.S. or someone else, is going to come in, or even a private sector contractor, right? Is going to come in and throw billions of dollars at it to say we got to figure out how we can use this, right, to make money or to, right.
Yeah.
And so enter Chris Pratt and his character where he's training the velociraptors, and he has this kind of bond, that he does because he raised it since it was. It's like, okay, that at least makes some sense, right?
Yeah.
And like the movie or not, and there's parts that are pretty good and parts that are like, yeah, that's just dumb, right? But overall, it was a good movie to watch, and it at least seemed plausible, right?
Yeah.
Um, and even the next one, that one was a little more out there, but they were like back in the states, and somehow because of the what were they doing? Yeah, they were trading, or what was it called? It was like a black market selling dinosaurs, right? Like,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
remember at the end of the previous, and then so they picked up where that left off, and now those dinosaurs escape, and they're out in the wild across the country, right? It's
Oh,
like, okay,
part three.
yeah, I guess so. It was the last one, I believe, right?
Oh,
So
yeah. I didn't watch
was it
the
Dominion?
Jurassic
Was it
World
Jurassic Park
movies.
Dominion? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I didn't
know.
watch
Yeah,
those movies.
they're very forgettable. So, but still, I can at least give them credit. Like, okay, so now it's about what, like rounding them up or something, and they're changing the ecosystem and all this kind of stuff, right? It's like, okay, whatever, right? So now it's like, well, we got to go back to the island because there's a cure. It's like, well, you just had all these dinosaurs literally in your backyard. Why do you need to go back to this island? You see what I mean?
Uh,
It's like, why are you going back when you had them in your backyard? You got to do is trap them, catch them, right? Cut them up and do your experiments. I mean, just repeat, rinse and repeat. So I don't know, but yeah, I'm not too excited about it. It might be a good watch, like kill some brain cells type of thing. But I'll
yeah.
wait for it to go to streaming. I'm not going to go to the theaters. I don't.
No.
Just from what I've seen so far, it doesn't look like it's and it's
It's
got
got,
Scarlett Johansson. It's like she's playing the lead, but you know, I'm kind of like, kind of tired of seeing her too. So, to be honest, like, it's like, okay, whatever. But yeah, so you know, if you want to see it, let us know. If you're excited, I mean, do you like all the Jurassic Park movies, or for me, I like the first one for sure. It still holds up.
yeah, I mean that's easily the best one.
Yeah, and since that, yeah, nothing really comes close. Um, yeah, nothing really comes like. I like the ones with Chris Pratt, but mainly because I like Chris Pratt. I think he's a great actor. And
Yeah.
he has a great screen presence, and he's good at playing the hero. So that's always nice to see. But that's kind of what the only thing that makes those movies worth watching, right?
Yeah.
Uh, if he wasn't the lead, they were, they would be completely forgettable. I'm just being honest. Uh,
Yeah.
and it's funny because at the end of, I guess it was the third one or fourth one. Basically the first one with Chris Pratt in it.
Oh,
the,
yeah.
no, not that one. The one after that. Um, they implied that one of the characters was genetically altered, like she has like dinosaur DNA or something, right? So
To what?
yeah, so they did. It was like some billionaire, and he cloned his daughter, right? Because the whole thing with dinosaurs is about cloning dinosaurs, right? So he used it and cloned his daughter, I guess, and so his what was supposed to be his granddaughter isn't really his granddaughter; it's his daughter.
That's
That he
hilarious.
cloned, and so she has this connection to the dinosaurs, right? So they implied that, but it obviously went nowhere, right? So because in the last movie, the movie after that, I don't think they did anything with it. They never revisited it or so. And then obviously in this movie, it doesn't look like they're doing that here. So
That's crazy.
yeah,
I didn't even know about that. I don't even remember that.
yeah, it's like okay, so you set up this kind of open-ended plot and you just leave it there. Okay, um, great.
Was Jurassic Park based off of a book? I remember reading it was based
Yeah,
off of a
by
book.
Michael Crichton, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. So if you want to watch, if you're really interested in, if you like Jurassic Park but want something that's kind of different, back in when did Jurassic Park come out? 1993, right?
I don't know.
1993.
I have no idea.
It was 1993. So around the same time, there was another series that came out in 1993.
Yeah, it's 1993. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was another series that came out in 1993 called Cadillacs and Dinosaurs.
Oh
And
yeah, I remember that.
so
I remember that.
was titled to anything I've ever heard. Cadillacs and Dinosaurs.
Yes, I remember. Well, during that time,
The
um,
forces of nature have spun
there was another one. What was it called?
and the
But look at this.
dinosaurs have
This is,
returned to reclaim the
they're literally driving a Cadillac
Yeah.
catching
Hey,
dinosaurs.
listen, I'm here for it.
This is awesome. You want to know how I know about this? Because there was a video game. Capcom made a
Yeah,
video
that's what I
based
remember.
off
The
the
video
game
game, exactly.
called Cadillacs and Dinosaurs.
That's right.
We tried it. It was like
land. One man
you're like
stands alone.
beating up dinosaurs and like dinosaur hunters. It was crazy.
Gone mad.
That's
A
funny.
world where only the strong survive. A world of
That's hilarious.
Cadillacs.
Like dinosaurs. it's like
Cadillacs and dinosaurs.
it's like what the boys like? Cars and dinosaurs.
There you go. All they needed was the third tier, which is robots.
No, they needed
Cars,
true
dinosaurs,
robots.
and robots.
True. No, you're right. That's the more logical.
Well,
That's what
speaking of which, there was one show that it precedes these, but it came out in the late '80s. Dino Saucers. That's what I always think.
Dino what?
Dino Saucers. It was a TV show, animated, and
Oh, I've seen this before.
yeah, it was pretty cool. It was
What?
a fun show, and it didn't last very long, but so dinosaurs have been like a staple
Never seen
for
it.
decades, man.
Oh, that's the worst way to
Yeah,
start
they're
out.
like alien dinosaurs, So and they talked and all that stuff.
Don't tell me the kids turn to the dinosaurs.
No,
Oh
no, no. They
okay.
just work with the dinosaurs, like partner with them and stuff. So, it's kind of dope. Yeah. Listen, man, dinosaurs are awesome, and
Dinosaurs are
you're not going anywhere. And I guess that's why we got like 7 Jurassic Park movies, right? So
true.
they're not going anywhere, which is fine. I just wish they'll I don't create a real series, versus kind of these one-off movies that are loosely connected. It's I don't know. It just seems kind of like because it's a lot. It just ends up being more of the same, you know. Versus if they had an actual narrative that they were building up to, You
Hmm.
know, they could do what the MCU did with Endgame, right? Like build
I
up
don't
to
know. I
a
kind of
big,
don't. I
big
kind of wish
payoff or something. So,
maybe I kind of wish Jurassic Park just stayed a one shot movie.
I mean, I wish it were, but that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, either just be a one shot, or have the wherewithal to say, okay, we're going in 3 movies strong, or we're going to do 7 or 8. You know,
Well, they did three
and have a.
movies, right? And then they stopped, and then they
I
came
know,
up
but
with.
even those movies weren't. They were okay. You know what I mean? But it was just like they just kept rehashing the same formula. You know, like, oh, a group of people on an island with dinosaurs, and they have to.
Well, the third one changed it up because one of the dinosaurs escaped to like New York or something.
Right, I know. And it's like, okay, that was different. Um, didn't really go anywhere though, right? I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like they could do better if they really wanted to, and they just won't. So, they won't take a chance and actually, you need the same characters need to return. That's number one. You got to have consistent characters, right?
That's
And they
true.
brought
Like a
back
different.
Jeff Goldblum, which is great. I like Jeff Goldblum, but it's not enough. And then the third one, they brought back the doctor, the scientist, right? And his girlfriend, I think, or something. So,
I guess.
but they didn't bring back the kids. So, I don't know.
I don't
You know
know.
what I mean? It's like it's so disjointed. It's just. I don't know. Plus, like I said, I don't, no one's asking for it. Like, it's almost like people go, yeah, let's go see it because there's nothing to do. But no one's asking for it, so you know,
Yeah.
there's no
Well, let
excitement.
us know what you guys think about the Jurassic Park movies. Let us know if you're excited for the new one.
Yeah, and do you like all the movies, or which movies do you like? Which ones do you hate?
Yeah,
Hate's a strong word, but
for sure.
dislike. I'll put it that
I mean, you can say, hey, I don't care.
way. I know. I don't hate. Actually, I don't hate any of the movies. They're watchable. It's not like they're just so terrible, right? They're all watchable.
Yeah.
But you're kind of like, what is the point of this? you know, because it never really ties in, right? They're just these loosely jointed uh, movies, like just kind of sort of connected, but not quite. Right? So I don't know. It is what it is. But moving on, um, in the heat of the night, we watched it. We watched it last night. I think we should still do a like a live stream watch, you know, of that movie because I think that'd be fun, and you guys can join us and watch and comment, Um, but we watched it last night, and it was nice because I haven't watched it in a long time, like probably not since maybe college, you know. And I'm talking about like watched it all the way through, and so it was a nice refresher. It was nice to um, watch it again, you know. What do you think? Because that was your first time actually watching it all the way through. What were your thoughts, like initially?
Okay, so I just want to provide some context for me wanting to watch this because I feel like this is very important. So I think a few months ago, uh, I was watching. Someone recommended I check out this YouTuber, FD Signifier.
Say it again.
FD Signifier. I think that's his YouTube
Oh,
page.
okay.
And I saw a couple videos. I saw one he did on. He was covering films like the Joker and Falling Down and Taxi. Those sort of like Rebel Without a Cause type of movies, whatever, or like those We Live in a Society type movies. That's kind of a vague way to put it, but basically it's talking about why people look up to those types of characters. I think he made a lot of interesting points. And then I saw another one he did on the Black Panther movie. It was called "When Do You Understand Black Panther?" And I absolutely hated that video. I didn't agree with a lot of what he said. And the thing that really pissed me off the most was when he referred to Sidney Poitier as a milquetoast, toothless portrayal of a black man, and he was using footage of In the Heat of the Night to make his point.
Yeah, yeah,
The reason why this bothered me is because as a kid, like I knew about Sidney Poitier as a kid because I had seen. I remember I caught um, like the tip end of was it To Sir with Love as a
yeah,
kid, where he's a teacher, and because I remember because he the kids they're all grateful to him. They're sad that he's going to leave, and Mr. Thackeray he decides to what's it called? Because I guess the whole thing was he was going to move to a different school or whatever, but he decides to stay at the school, and it was a great ending. And yeah, that character was cool. And then you told me who he was, and so I looked him up because what was the other thing? Oh yeah, because in the Lion King, there's a scene when Timon and Pumbaa they help take back Fried Rock. They make the joke. They call me Mr. Pig, and I was wondering like where that came from. I
yeah.
looked it up, and the first thing it showed was the scene where he says they call me Mr. Tibbs. I was like, oh. Immediately I remember as a kid my first thought was like this guy means business. I've never once looked at Sidney Poitier and thought of him as
Milk
toothless.
toast. Yeah.
You just don't do that. That's silly.
Right.
And so, but I wanted to like see it. I wanted the full context for myself to see, hey, maybe I was wrong. Spoiler alert, I was not wrong. In the Heat of the Night, it's a classic. It's a great movie.
It is.
Sidney Poitier is the exact opposite of everything he just described, and I'm extremely upset that he would say something like that. It doesn't make any sense. So, okay, so for people who don't know, hold on a second, because I'm getting really mad. Give me a second.
Pace yourself. Excuse me. You there? Oh, he's muted. Okay, so he's really mad. So
No, I had to step away because I know I'm yelling. I'm about to yell. I don't want to yell.
okay,
I don't want to yell.
before you yell, let's give a brief brief description. So the movie is set. It's a movie that came out in 1967. In case you don't know, it stars Sidney Poitier, who at the time was a leading man. He was a very prominent black leading man in film and cinema. So and great actor. He did a lot of great movies.
Yeah.
I remember watching him growing up. He used to do a few. He did a few movies with Bill Cosby.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And they were great. I remember those movies. They're like some of my favorite movies. Period. Let alone with Sidney Poitier.
Yeah. The movie itself was directed by Norman Jewison. I don't know if he did anything else. That was
and it was based off a book by John Ball from 1965. And it's interesting because in the book, we were talking about this when we were watching it, of how the Southern folks, particularly the law enforcement, were sort of presented in the movie as this very stereotypical racist Southern, characters. I was like, yeah, it's a little bit stereotypical. I was like, in reality, it's really not. But for the movie, they played it up. Even in the book, it's a little more tame. It's not as on the nose, right? And the racism is far more. There's more subtext, right? Even the chief that he works with to solve the murder, is not as racist in the book, at least not blatantly, right?
Oh,
He
really?
holds like a bigoted perspective, but that plays out in the book, so it's more nuanced in the book, but in the movie, it's far more played up, obviously for entertainment purposes and dramatic effect, right? So that's important to understand, But anyway, so uh, excuse me, it's about Detective Virgil Tibbs, he's a black detective police officer from Philadelphia. And in the
Yeah.
book, he's actually from California. He's from Pasadena, which is
Is
interesting.
he?
Yeah, yeah. So, but in the movie, he's from Philadelphia, and he's a top forensic expert as well. Like he's a a great homicide detective, and so he stumbles through this small town called Sparta, visiting his mother, right? And he just happens to be passing through late at night when this murder is discovered in a small town in the streets by one of the deputies. And so, of course, the law enforcement scrambles. The chief is there, and he sends his deputies to scour the town, to go to the bus stations, to find the suspect. And of course, he gets to the bus station, and lo and behold, Detective Tibbs is sitting there waiting for his train. I said
So
bus
I
station,
just want to
train,
point out
train
the
station.
scene where they find Virgil Tibbs, right? Where he finds Virgil Tibbs. He doesn't speak at all, but his presence says everything, right? Like it's like when you immediately see him, it's like it's very ominous, right? And
Yeah,
it's not.
not just ominous, but he has a very commanding presence.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
doesn't. He's not spooked by the officer.
No.
Tell he's not afraid. He doesn't like. If you look at other portrayals of that dynamic in other movies, right, where you have this dominant white personality, usually an officer, and they confront a black person, right, and they call him boy, and they do call him boy, right,
I mean, yeah, yeah.
and but usually
They
the
call him a
response
lot
is
of
no, yes,
things. Yeah.
yes sir, no sir. They portray the black character in a position of fear,
Like,
right,
look at him.
and
He's just
apprehension.
reading this book. He's
Here,
like,
yeah, he's sitting there and he remains relaxed. He doesn't even get up, right? He has a very stoic expression, and he remains completely silent, right? And of course, he complies with the officer, and the officer. And the thing is, the officer doesn't even really arrest him, right? He doesn't put cuffs on him. He just tells him, "Look." He pulls his gun on him though,
yeah, he
right?
does.
And he tells him, get in the car. We're going to the station, right? And but it's a great introduction to the character because, like I said in the book,
And he hasn't spoken yet.
yeah, he's not presented in a very as a confident character like this in the book. But in the
Really?
movie, he's far more. And this is Sidney Poitier's doing, right? When he was casted for the part, he insisted on playing the character very differently from the book, and that meant he's not going to be quiet and passive, and he's not going to be, um, you know, he didn't want to present as a sort of weak character, right? He wanted to present himself as a competent, intelligent, and masculine character, So he adapts this very stoic um, appearance, and persona, and it plays out very well throughout the movie. So they pick him up, they take him to the station. They don't know he's an officer, right? And once they get into the chief's office, they're sitting there and they're like, okay, here we go. We got this color boy, right?
Yeah.
And the chief looks in his wallet. It's a hilarious moment, and he
Yeah,
sees
he's
the
like, oh,
badge,
you
and it's
arrested a
like,
policeman.
yeah. It's like, oh, he's like, did you bother? He calls the deputy, right? Did you bother to even ask him questions? He's like, no, sir. And it's like, great, right? We just arrested an officer, right? So it's pretty hilarious. And of course, you got the like I said, you got the tensions and everything, because he's in the deep south. These guys they don't see a lot of black folks, especially from out of town, especially wearing a nice suit.
Yeah.
He's got a nice shirt and tie on. He's clean cut. You know, um, and he speaks very articulate, right? And you get a sense of that the subtext in the scene where he starts telling them that he's a police officer, right? That you can call my chief, and I'll pay for the call, right? And they take deep offense to that.
Yeah, because he
You know,
makes more money than they do.
yeah, yeah. Cause he literally asks me, he's like, "How much money do you make?" And he says like, "What,
Hundred
$162 a week?"
sixty-two dollars
And
and
he's like,
93 cents.
like, at the time, of course, that's a lot of money, right?
Yeah,
He's like, "You making more than I make," right?
yeah.
And he's like, and he has cash in his wallet, and it looks like maybe it's a couple $100. And he's
That's
like,
what it
"You
looked
got
like. Yeah,
you got more money in your wallet than I make in a month."
yeah,
That's literally what he said. So you got all these things, right, that stack up to show like, okay, basically it's like, who does this N-word think he is, right?
yeah.
Like, how dare he be successful and educated and intelligent and clean cut, and it's really funny, right? Because
Yeah,
it's not at all
one
what they
hundred sixty-two
expect.
dollars and 39 cents.
Yeah, and so it's pretty hilarious, and so if you're not too sensitive to racial motifs, etc., or themes, you'll probably find it very entertaining. I found it very funny. It's just
Yeah, it was
because
hilarious.
at the end of the day, if you can get past the racist narrative, right, and see the movie for what it is, it's a story about two men who are very strong-headed, bullish, stubborn, but also competent, right? And and really with the chief, it's his arc is very interesting because, like I said in the book, he's not presented as very racist. He's more accepting because he sees how skilled he is as a detective. Tibbs is, right, but in here he's far more resistant at first. Even to the point of flat out rejecting an offer for help from his captain, right? So he calls Tibbs captain, and the captain's like, "Well, look, since he's there, how about he help you out with that murder I just heard about, right? Like, let him help you out. He's the best there is, right? So might as well take advantage of him, right?" And the chief's like, okay, thanks, but he's like, no. He's like, he
Yeah,
tells Tibbs like, get out of here, right?
yeah,
So it's pretty funny, but eventually he changes his mind, right? Because when he starts to realize that he's over his head, you know, that like he's not going to solve this murder on his own,
no,
because this is something that doesn't happen in this town, where someone, especially because the person that was murdered is a very high profile individual, is a wealthy man, businessman,
yeah. He's going to build a
investor.
factory in the town.
Yeah, so it's like a big deal, and it's like he's got to have answers. So he realizes, yeah, maybe I do need this guy. And so he does employ him to help. And immediately, they go to the scene where they're in the morgue, and he's like immediately looking at the body, and he knows like, okay, I need something. We got to run some tests. And they're looking at him like, what are you talking about? Right? Because
Yeah,
like I said, it's a small one horse town. They're not used to this type of, usually everything's cut and dry. Everything's like, the farmer shot his dog.
yeah,
Like it's simple stuff. And now the chief is realizing after he's examining the body, he's like, Tibbs, Tibbs examines the body. And this is funny, the scene where he goes in, the chief goes in first and he looks at the body, and you could tell he has no idea what
oh
he's
yeah. He just looks at it.
but,
He's like,
but
"Yep,
the
he's dead."
yeah, but the two gentlemen they're they look up to the chief, and that you see that with most of the people in the town.
Yeah,
They look up to the chief like he's the guy, like he's gonna like fix things. He's gonna solve this case. So they give him way more credit than he deserves. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, and you notice the scene before this when in office, and he does ask him to help, and Tibbs says no. Right? He's like,
yeah,
no, I'm going. Right?
yeah,
And he's like, why do you want my help now? He's like, because you're a murder expert and I'm not.
yeah,
Right? He straight up says it, like, I'm not an expert. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. In other words, right? So he actually admits, like, yeah, but it was just them two in the office, right?
yeah,
So it's kind of funny, right? It's like he had a vulnerable moment where it's like, yeah, like you're the expert. And so that's how he ends up here. And like I said, these two guys, they're like, "What do you think, Chief? Yeah, you got this. You're gonna solve it, right? Like because this is big, you know." And so, but Tibbs comes in and he starts examining, and it's like he's pointing out things that their own medical examiner missed,
yeah,
And that's when the chief realizes, you know what, do whatever this guy says,
yeah,
like
yeah,
do what he
exactly.
says and help him, because he's realizing, yeah, we're over our heads, So
Mhm.
it's a great scene. It's done beautifully, I think, even though, like I said, the racism is far more on the nose in the movie compared to the book. The book is way more subtle, but it's still there, and I think it needed to be more over the top because it's a movie.
Yeah,
Like if maybe if it
for
were a
sure.
series, like where you have multiple episodes where you can flesh things out, but because it's a movie, it's a one shot, right?
Yeah,
You got to kind of
everything
get to the
has to be a
point.
bit exaggerated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to use that dramatic effect to really drive the point home. So, and they do a good job of that without it being too. I mean, I think looking at it with modern sensibilities, right, from our vantage point, we might still think it's too much. Like I even commented that when we were watching it, right? Like, it's a little over the top, but I
I
think it was
guess.
necessary for the sake of the storytelling, to really drive it home because you only have so many scenes, right? You only have so much time to tell the story, right? So and it
I don't
does a
know.
good job
I
of doing that and
I
moving.
never felt like it was over the top because I understood when this took place. So it's like
Yeah,
I
but
didn't.
that's what I mean. Even in the context of the time period, right? It's still over the top. That's what I'm saying. Like
You
our
think so?
perception is that the South was so uber racist, and it's like, yeah, racist things happen,
Sure, but
but
this is also just one
in
town.
the day to day life. Well, even that's what I'm saying. Even in the book, the town isn't really. It's not portrayed as like it's just this racist town. That's my point because
I'll
the
have to read the
author
book
was
then.
basing it off of the real life, his real life understanding and experience, and that's the point
Mm,
I'm making is
okay.
like if you talk to people who lived, during that time, and those are, you can get a good understanding. Like you'll see that the accounts will be varied, right? You could talk to 50 or 100 black people, and they'll all tell you something slightly different. They're not going to all say, "Oh, it's so racist." Some will say it's racist. Some will say, "Oh, that was fine," because it depends on where you lived and who you knew and your community, right? And that's all I'm saying. It wasn't just black and white, no pun intended.
Oh
you know.
yeah.
So, but the like I said, for the sake of the story, though, in the movie, I agree. It kind of had to push that, to send the message like, yeah, this town is racist. Like, you know, I mean,
What do you
seriously, like
think?
you
Not
have to
everybody
push
in
that
the
story.
town was like super racist though. That's the thing.
Yeah, so it kind of had,
It was like one or two people, but it was. I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah, it wasn't a whole town. That's what I mean. So, but eventually throughout the movie, like he decides to stay and help, and now, but then the chief, the wife comes in and he tells the wife, and she's of course distraught. And because he was going to build this factory, she's like, "Well, look, I'm just going to shut everything down unless I can find out, because it's like the thinking, the subtext is, well, I might be in danger, right? And the people that work for me, so so they immediately suspect the competition, um, that he took up because there's another sort of rich, uh, you know, millionaire or whatever in the town,
Yeah,
and what was his name? Endicott. That's it, Endicott.
yeah, Mr.
And
Endicott.
he,
Oh
he's a
yeah,
plantation. He's a rich plantation owner. So obviously there's some, very on the nose, uh, allusions being drawn there. And so they immediately suspect him, right? Because he's competition, right? So he go, and this is another iconic scene, right? This is probably the iconic scene of the movie. There's one more, but this one is probably bigger, where uh, Detective Tibbs visits Endicott at his estate, along with the chief, of course. And it's kind of interesting. We talked a lot about this scene because it's very telling. But ultimately, what happens is he's talking to Mr. Endicott. He's asking him questions, and he's kind of impressing him a little bit because he's very knowledgeable, very articulate, and he knows about flowers. He makes certain comments where he shows that he's intelligent, right?
yeah,
But he still talks to him in a very condescending way, right? And he even makes
yeah,
a comment here, and I think it's in this moment where he says
yeah,
something to the effect of, "Well,
yeah,
the Negro needs to be guided
and
and
cultivated or
cultivated.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like they need our guidance or our cultivation,
yeah,
just like the Negro, right? So
yeah.
so he compares black people to
This particular flower.
this flower because it's a very delicate flower that needs a lot of attention, and it's very condescending and insulting, right?
Yeah,
And then Tibbs, he goes on like he kind of ignores it, right? He glosses over it, and he starts just asking him these questions like about the type of soil and stuff, right? and it kind of it go and it, his answers align with the evidence, right? Because they find that
Yeah,
soil on the body, all this kind of stuff. So they're like, he's looking like our guy. And
yeah.
so Endicott catches on. He's like, wait a minute, like, are you like saying I'm part of this? Like, like you question me about this murder, right? So he obviously takes offense, and Tibbs goes on to explain to him like, well, you're definitely a key person, right? And this and that, and he goes up to him and smacks him in the face, right? Like, how dare you talk to me, a white man, you know, being a black man? Like how dare you, right? Like he's getting uppity, right? And immediately,
I'm just gonna
Detective
play
Tibbs,
it. I'm just gonna play it. Hold on
yeah,
a
just
second.
watch it, just watch it. Yeah, this is it right here.
Mr. Endicott, your points of view are a matter of record. Some people, well, let us say the people who work for Mr. Colbert might reasonably regard you as the person least likely to mourn his passing. We were just trying to clarify some of the evidence. Was Mr. Colbert ever in this greenhouse, say last night about midnight?
Smack, smack.
Look at him! It's like, whoa.
And listen, let me tell you something. This is the smack heard around the world, right? Like, never seen anything like this ever at any time in any movie, right?
No.
Especially in this context where you have a white plantation owner, a rich white male plantation owner, and he's trying to dress this guy down, right? So he smacks him like, you're getting uppity, like you're disrespecting me, and immediately Mr. Tibbs says, I don't think so. Smacks him right back.
No, but he's toothless though. He's
And-
milquetoast.
right, exactly, right. That's why I understand your frustration, because like it's the same as mine. It's a complete mischaracterization and misrepresentation to say things like that about Sidney Poitier and his portrayals, particularly in this movie, but in any movie, because the problem is, too many black people, especially so-called pro-black people, they have this perception of what it means to be a black male, to be aggressive and to be masculine, and they'll lean more towards the black exploitation perception versus the Virgil Tibbs,
Which is
right?
which is crazy because it's
Yeah.
like you'd rather look up to a pimp and a known thug than a guy who's upstanding with the law.
Right, and that's
And
that's my point.
it's like it's so stupid.
It
These
is,
are the
but
same
that's
people.
the
Wait, hold on. These are the same people who complain about representation and we don't like the representation in
right.
Hollywood.
Right. We're
But
always
then
thugs, and
they're
you
like,
pimps and thugs. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and that's what I mean. But you get someone who represents us in probably the most positive light imaginable, right? As a hero, true hero, an intelligent man, a masculine man, a confident man, stoic, reserved, self-controlled, right? Confident, and it's almost all but ignored, right? And that's it's unfortunate, And but yeah, that's why what he said was so out of line, because it's so inaccurate, right? It's complete mischaracterization, but um, it's unfair, It's simply untrue, And we need more Sidney Poitier, And we kind of got it with Denzel Washington. I think he's a definite
I mean,
spiritual.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, even
Denzel
Jamie
Washington,
Foxx. Yeah,
Idris Elba.
yeah, Idris Elba, Jamie Foxx. I mean, they're
Like you
all
wouldn't
great.
have
great
any of those
performances.
actors without Sidney Poitier.
And not portraying stereotypes, right? Just portraying actual characters, manly, masculine characters. So we do have that, and I'm thankful for that. So, but we definitely need to give Mr. Poitier his flowers as well.
Man, look,
So,
and
you know, but
then
yeah.
look, wait, look.
Oh yeah. Go back.
And then he starts
Oh yeah,
crying.
yeah. He starts crying.
He
and
starts
listen,
crying.
you remember what I said, right? I said this is representative of the classic modern racist, right there, right? He whimpers and cries, right, because he couldn't control the Negro. And even before that, right before the servant walked out, what did he do? He turned to him and he shook his head like
Yeah.
pathetic, right? Why? because he's like what's his name from Django, remember?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know.
Sam
Yeah, Samuel
Jackson's
Jackson.
character. Yeah, that's what he is, right? And but see, people think that represents, like, for example, the black conservative, right? No, it does not. It represents the black liberal. I guarantee you, this man, this plantation owner, is a liberal. He is a Democrat, right? Or what they used to call Dixiecrats, whatever, right? And has not changed. Well, the only thing that's changed is our perception, because we flipped the
Well,
perception.
okay. So,
But the
so hold on a
reality
second,
is,
because
because
I'm
remember what he
not.
said prior to this, right? That the
No, I
Negro has to
agree.
be
But and I think
nurtured and all this, right? Like we're children. There you go.
yeah, it's the racism of low expectations, and you see that
Exactly.
the most. What's ironic or apropos, whatever you want to call it, is that you see that attitude the most with, I guess if you want to call it the modern liberal, where it's like,
That's
oh,
right.
people have so many disadvantages that we need to give
They
them
got
so
they got to
many,
they got to hold our hands. They got to spoon feed us. They got to
and it's like that's
give
not
us things.
like.
Yeah,
Listen, I'm of like me personally. I'm of the mentality that my mistakes are my own, and I have to deal with them my way. And same thing with my accomplishments. I earned those. All
that's right.
those things are they're my responsibility.
That's right.
Right?
And
Both my
and, and
accomplishments
no
and
one
my
no one
mistakes.
owes you those things. Yeah.
No, no, they don't. But
Yeah.
that makes me. But realizing and understanding that made me a happier person. So it's like I've been. Listen, I'm still nowhere from the line. It sucked. I've been broke. It was the most It was like the worst point of my life. But like I've never like gotten to a point where it's like I never want to be in that situation ever again. And I
Yeah.
made sure
That's
that
right.
I got to that point. But I know a lot of people who are twice my age and still on Section 8 or still on food stamps. And it's just like
Yeah.
that's no way to live.
And it's not that they're on it; it's that they don't have to be.
They don't exactly. They don't
That's
have
what
to be.
it's one thing to need it, and it's
Yeah,
another thing to simply be on it because you can,
yeah,
because it's that low hanging fruit, and that's what we're really speaking to,
yeah.
right? We're not talking about people that actually need it. There are plenty of
No,
people that need it, right? They're disabled. But a lot of folks don't. They just need to get up and go do something, right? And but like I said, the mentality behind it,
because
it
when he said that thing, and I'm gonna just play it for context. Oh, a second.
yeah, yeah, it's a good idea.
Well, I am partial to any of the epiphytics.
Why, isn't that remarkable? That of all the orchids in this place, you should prefer the epiphytics. I wonder if you know why.
Maybe it would be helpful if you'd tell me.
Because, like the Negra, they need care, and feeding, and cultivating. And that takes time.
And so when he said that, it's like I'm reminded of like um,
I mean, that's every democratic policy.
well, it's not even just it's. I mean, from from in my lifetime, it reminded me when what's it called? Some governor or senator in New York, the lady, she was like, some of these black kids they don't even know what a computer is. I'm just like,
Yeah,
what? Or like,
right. That was
or
the governor. And guess what? Guess what? She's a Democrat.
I know that. I'm just saying, or like
No,
when
but my point is that that's the source. That's what keeps this mentality alive. Is that side of the aisle? Unfortunately, you understand. There's a reason why 80 to 90% of black people vote Democrat. It's not a coincidence, right? This is planned. It's been structured. It's been propagandized. You understand? It's part of their plan. Like his plan. He represents that. Period. Like that's what it is. It's right here in this movie. So it's fascinating.
yeah, it was nuts because I remember watching this. I remember watching the scene in the past, and I forgot what he said at the time. I wasn't really paying attention as a kid. I was just, I saw Mr. Tibbs slap a dude. I was like,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
like,
when I was young and I first saw that, that's all I thought. It was like, oh, he slapped him back. Like, yeah, you
yeah,
can't let nobody slap you. I wasn't
yeah.
thinking in terms of race or anything. I just thought of it like, yeah, this man
Well,
slapped him for no
I mean,
reason.
I understood the significance, right? Because I knew what the time period was. But even still, I forgot. Like,
It didn't even occur to me until I was way older. Like I said, probably when I hit high school or college, that I really
okay,
started to understand the nuance.
I
And
just didn't know every. I didn't remember everything leading up to that slap.
and listen, fast forwarded to the slap. This is what black people need to do to people that think like him. We need to smack them back, make them cry.
Oh, okay.
When they start telling us we need handouts and all this nonsense, smack them. Tell them shut up.
Well, I okay.
I'm serious, man. We just smack them.
I
Not
just,
not literally, of course, but smack them with the truth. Tell them I don't need you. So
well, I just think, I feel like you shouldn't let people underestimate you or like be condescending to you
right,
because
exactly.
you're black.
Right,
Because I've had
or
that
any
happen to
race,
me before.
any
It's like
black or
no,
female. It's
because
like
like I remember I
stop
was
letting these talking heads pander and condescend to you like your children.
well
That's
because
it.
I remember when I was in an internship um, in my boss. I think this was during I forgot what happened. It was some kind of riots going on in Bedford, and my boss was like, "Man, I feel real sorry for you guys." I'm just like, "You guys? You talking about me? What are you talking about? What did I do?" I didn't understand why he would say that, but it's like I'm fine. I'm working because I was at an intern. I was an intern for the Jim Henson company at the time. I was like, I'm working for the Muppets. Like, I'm not struggling. I'm fine. Like, why would you say that?
Yeah, life is good. Yeah,
Yeah. But it's like, I don't know. It just I don't like you wouldn't. I don't like. How would you not find that condescending? It's like this is awful.
it is, and that's what I'm saying. And it's no matter what you do or how successful you are, you're still a victim. It's the most ridiculous and absurd thing. Just like people who refer to NFL players as, NFL is the new slavery, or like
It's so stupid. It's like they can retire.
the most retarded take I've
It's
ever
so
heard. It's like,
stupid.
what are you talking about? They're making millions of dollars a year.
And I know I mentioned this yesterday, but I have a coworker. I'm not saying any names, but love him to death. He's a cool dude. He's like twice my age, right? And we were getting off work, and he had been at the job longer than I have, and he was like, uh, he was trying to give me advice, right? Like he was trying to do.
Yeah,
Essentially, was like I'm paraphrasing. He was like, you gotta know how to navigate the plantation. And me and my other friend are just looking at him, who was like my age. We were looking at him like he was crazy. Like, why would you say that? Like, what? Because our boss is, he's a grumpy old man, but like he's like comparing himself to you know the job as a plantation. It's like, dude, you can quit your job. Any of us can quit. We
right.
have
You can leave
and
anytime.
you're like twice as richer than us.
Yeah,
Like,
because if I recall, you couldn't just leave a plantation anytime you wanted to.
no.
Yeah, you kind of had to be there. And actually you lived there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a wild kind of thing to hear people speak that way. It's just very strange to me. So
Yeah.
I'm
And
like,
I understand
we're
why.
being
Oh,
afforded some of the greatest benefits, in my generation for sure. Um, and I've faced racism, but not in the sense of Jim Crow.
I'm
I
gonna be
faced it
honest.
because
I don't.
someone said the N word or something, or deprived me of a meal, right? But guess what? I just went somewhere else and got a meal. Like it wasn't this zero sum situation.
I mean, I'll be honest. I can't think of a situation in my life where I faced any real racism. Like I just can't. Like I remember in high school, like kids would make black jokes, but everybody made black jokes.
Yeah,
Everybody was
everybody made everything jokes.
yeah,
We
but
made
like
Asian jokes, we made female jokes.
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
like
we made jokes about everybody, right?
I'm just saying, like when I was specifically like when I was a kid, and it's like most of the time, like I would like I had I I had a friend, and he was Mexican, by the way, and he would always like make some kind of black joke, and then one day he was like, um, he said like, "Oh hey, you got any fried chicken on you?" And then like I pull like out of my lunch, he's like, "Yeah, you want some?" And it turns out he didn't bring his lunch that day, and he was like, "Yeah, actually, could I?" and we were like best friends from that point onward.
Yeah.
Like, like and what's funny is that he's as dark as I am. I remember it was pizza day at high school. They were selling like dollar pizzas, and he bought two slices of pizza, and uh when the pizza was ready, I grabbed the pizza instead of him.
Yeah.
And because the guy selling the pizza thought my arm was his arm, he didn't say anything, and I just took the pizza. And he's like, "Where's my pizza?" That's the funny part. He was as dark as I am. It was hilarious. That's why I got free pizza because of racism. That's the most
Hey,
racist
yeah,
thing.
sometimes it works in our advantage, right? That's pretty funny actually. But yeah,
Oh
it's like
man,
but this movie is very timely. It influenced a lot of
it's
later
because
movies.
yeah, maybe it's because I
Hollywood in
didn't.
general, and the idea of just portraying black people, especially black men, in a more straightforward and positive light, right? Outside of the genre of black exploitation, right?
Well,
Um,
the black exploitation era didn't really happen until at least like the early 70s. Like,
yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, definitely a groundbreaking film.
and in
Uh,
certain, I don't know, there are certain movies that I wouldn't really consider black exploitation. Like, what was that? Like, Coolie High was a movie that came out at that time.
yeah,
And,
I agree. I wouldn't consider that black exploitation.
yeah, but it gets lumped in. It's like, well, no, that's just a coming of age movie,
It is.
or
It's a coming of age movie where the backdrop is the inner city and the characters happen to be black. Now, granted, we can't say with the intent of the author, or director, but that's how.
right, but but exploitation is already a genre. The nature of exploitation is that it
Well, it's an
have a
extreme example of a common trope, right?
yeah.
And
Right?
that's
And I don't think Cooley High was that. You can't
no,
define it
not,
as
not
a.
even close. And the same with this movie. The same with and that's what I mean. It's you know,
And I like some of those movies because a lot of those movies
well, they're
overlap.
fun.
Like
Like,
well, for
like
me, I'm a kung fu movie guy, so a lot of those movies overlap
yeah,
with like martial arts.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly.
So
Um,
that's why I like Jim Kelly, Black Belt Jones, Black Samurai, even to a certain extent. I won't say Enter the Dragon a little bit because it had Jim Kelly in it, but yeah, it's
yeah,
like
even Blackula,
yeah, Black.
and but it's actually a really good movie.
Yeah.
We should probably watch that one too. Like stream that.
I don't know. I see. I feel like I
Well,
probably
yeah,
enjoy
you
it.
probably have to find an edited because there is some
We're not gonna stream it, but I'll watch it.
there's some couple of racy scenes, but still.
I mean, yeah, it's a black exploitation movie. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Well, it's but it's it's not overdone. So, but yeah,
I've seen some wild stuff. Like
no, in Blackula, it's not. Yeah, it's
I'm not particularly talking about Blackula, just in general. Like I remember.
no, I know. Yeah, like Cleopatra Jones and all. Yeah,
Or not even that
It gets
tame.
pretty crazy.
There was a movie that my British friend, shout out to my British friend, because he introduced me to a movie called, and it was the Dolomite guy. I forgot his real name.
Oh,
He
okay.
called
Yeah.
him Dolomite,
Yeah.
but it was called Petey Wheatstraw and
Hmm.
Devil's Son-in-Law, and it was the same guy who did like Dolomite and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally, the main character is the mom is pregnant and she births a watermelon, and then out of the watermelon pops the little baby.
Of
And I'm
course. It
like,
makes perfect sense. Yeah.
no, and it's like, what? And the baby's already like 4 years old looking. And I'm like, what the heck? What is happening? Like, that's the beginning of the movie. Also, his name is Petey Wheatstraw.
It's a great name. But
Uh,
the whole point was to be over the top. So
I know, but it's like there's a lot more over the top than just Cleopatra.
but
But
with the Heat of the Night, it spawned two additional movies. They Call Me Mr. Tibbs in 1970 and The Organization in 71.
I never heard of
Where
this.
he returns as the same detective, same character, solving murder.
There's also a
Um,
TV show.
yes, and then it spawned a TV show in the 80s, mid 80s, and ran until the 90s, mid 90s. And that starred Carol O'Connor. If you don't recognize that name, that's Archie Bunker, right? So
Yeah, that's
from
right.
All in
Yeah.
the Family, and he was a
Also,
great
shout out
fit.
to Rod Steiger, the guy who played the cop in this film, the partner cop in this film. He was really good in
Yeah, he
this.
was actually. Yeah, he's very good. And Howard Rollins was Tibbs. Um, and he was kind of big. I think before that in like a lot of soap operas and stuff. So yeah. So and the series was actually pretty good. It's far more tamed um, than the movie.
Oh
You
well, yeah.
and and they introduced a lot of additional characters, etc. Like
Yeah.
Tibbs ended up being married, things like that. So, but it was a good show. I remember my mom used to watch and she loved it. So, I liked it too. It was actually a very good show. And that's actually seeing the show is what made me go back and watch the movie, right? Um, so, um, so yeah, the show was pretty decent and had a good run. So, but yeah, the movie, like I said, was groundbreaking. Um, Wonderful film, and we need to watch those two sequels. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Also, fun fact: the guy who plays the cop in the Heat of the Night, Rod Steiger, he was also in a film called. He was also the star of a film called Marty, which is like a romantic drama. And I mentioned that because it's been making the rounds on YouTube,
Okay.
like clips of it. So
Yeah.
if you guys like Rod Steiger and Marty, if you've seen Marty already, check out In the Heat of the Night for him as well.
Yeah, sounds good. So that's all I got for you
Yeah,
today.
we don't want to spoil the rest of it. That was
Yeah,
probably the most
definitely.
important part of
See
the
the
movie.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's free on YouTube. Go
Yeah,
watch the.
check it out. It's worth it. Go watch it, and and come back and let us know what you thought. Uh,
Yeah, please
and
do.
if you know of any other movies that you'd like us to talk about and review, let us know. We'd love to do it. Love to watch it. So. And but yeah, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for checking us out and listening and being a part of this. And look, this was awesome. So that's a great movie. Have another super galactic Saturday.
And we'll see you around.